On a beach in northeast Scotland, a harbour porpoise washes up. No bite marks, nothing eaten. Ribs cracked, lungs torn, the spine pulled out of true. Whatever did this wanted none of it. And whatever did this is, in every photograph ever taken, smiling. That face is not what you think it is, and every one of us has been reading it wrong. But to understand that, we start with the bone. Meet the common bottlenose dolphin, Tursiops truncatus, up to 4 meters, up to 630 kilos, in every temperate and tropical ocean on Earth. Its biggest relative is the orca, but this is the one everybody pictures. And they picture one thing: it is smiling. That curve is the shape of the jaw, fixed in bone, because a dolphin has no muscles around its mouth, nothing to pull it into an expression and nothing to pull it back. So the mouth opens and closes, and the curve never moves. It is the only animal alive whose entire public image was handled by its skull. And behind that skull sits a brain of about 1.5 kilograms, heavier than yours, and against body size second only to ours. So if the face is saying nothing, what is? Everything this animal says, it says in sound. And the first thing it ever says is its own name. Inside its first year, a calf invents a whistle. Not copies, invents. It settles on a rising and falling shape of frequency that nothing else in that water is using, and then it keeps that shape for life. Biologists call it the signature whistle. So when a dolphin loses the group, it whistles its own shape and waits, and the others copy that shape, reproducing somebody else's whistle to call it back. Play a dolphin its own whistle through an underwater speaker and it answers, but play a stranger's and nothing happens. Everything else out there is shouting here. This one is shouting here, and it's Gary, and the whole bay knows Gary. One dolphin answered the whistle of an animal it had not shared water with for 20 years and 6 months, the longest social memory ever measured outside our own species. So is it the only other species that does this? For a decade, that was the line, but not anymore, because since 2024, both elephants and marmosets have been caught doing something like it. But there is a difference. Those animals are given a name. This one makes one up and answers to it for 50 years. Down here, sound is not for talking, it is for looking. The whistles come from one system and the clicks come from another, air forced past tissue flaps inside the head, with no vocal cords involved, and then aimed forward through the melon, the fatty lens in its forehead. The echo does not return to the ears at all. It enters through the lower jaw and travels along a channel of fat to the ear bones. It listens with its chin. Closing on a fish, it fires hundreds of clicks a second until they tighten into a buzz. In the lab, one told apart 2 aluminium cylinders whose walls differed by 1/4 millimeter, from 8 meters away. Here is the part that changes everything. Sound does not stop at skin. It passes straight through soft tissue and comes back off whatever is hard or hollow, off bone and off air. So when one dolphin scans another, the loudest thing returning is the lungs. It is a swimming ultrasound machine and nobody agreed to the scan. They do not see each other. They see into each other. There has never been privacy in a pod. None of it ever switches off. A dolphin does not breathe automatically. Every breath is a decision. Surface, open the blowhole, choose. Which leaves an awkward problem. What happens when it falls asleep? It does not. Not the way you do, anyway. A dolphin sleeps one half of its brain at a time. Slow waves down the left half, the right half awake, and the left eye open. Hours later, the two of them trade, and each half gets about 4 hours a day. You have not been properly awake since Tuesday. This thing has never once been fully asleep. In one experiment, a dolphin was asked to listen for targets and report what it heard. It held that for 15 days without a break, no drop in accuracy. Half a brain permanently on watch for 60 years. And with the other half, it invents things. So what beats the best sonar in the ocean? A fish with no swim bladder. Almost every echo a dolphin gets off a fish comes from the gas bladder inside it. So without one, a fish is acoustically almost water. And buried in rubble, it is gone entirely. In the deep channels of Shark Bay in Western Australia lives exactly that fish, the barred sandperch, which has no swim bladder and buries itself. So the dolphins there, its Indo-Pacific cousins, did something no other dolphin does. They put on a glove. A sponger tears a basket sponge off the seabed, wears it over its beak, and shoves it through the rubble until something bolts. Out of thousands of dolphins in that bay, a few dozen do it. Of 41 sponges studied, 29 were female. The genetics run up the mothers to a single animal. So why has something this useful not spread? Because the sponge sits on the jaw, and the jaw is the ear. Work published in 2025 modelled it, and found that the tool muffles the animal's own hearing while it is in use. It is doing precision work with the lights turned down, holding the dimmer itself. Every sponge is a different shape, so the distortion is new each time, which is why almost none of them can. That is one animal with one tool. Now, scale it up. In the shallow, warm, soft mud of Florida Bay, one dolphin drops low, turns hard, and drives its tail along the seabed, hauling a wall of silt up behind it, and then closes that wall around a school of mullet. The mud wall runs 5 to 11 meters long, and the whole maneuver takes about 17 seconds. The mud traps nothing at all, and it does not have to, because the fish simply will not swim into it, which leaves them exactly one way out. And the rest of the group is parked outside the ring, facing in, mouths open. They do not catch the fish, they have it delivered, and in one place they run it with us. In Laguna, in southern Brazil, wild dolphins have been driving mullet toward men standing chest deep with hand-thrown nets since the 1800s, and then giving them a signal, a sharp roll or a deep dive. Throw now. 12 years of measurement, 177 fishermen interviewed, GPS on their wrists and drones overhead. When the dolphins show up, a man is 17 times more likely to land fish, and the dolphins that work with us are 13% more likely to survive the year because it keeps them away from the nets. Nobody trained anybody. 2 species decided the other was useful, and neither has stopped. Now the part the face covers. Back in Shark Bay, among those same cousins, males pair off or team up in threes, and then those teams ally with others, and those alliances ally again. 121 adult males in 3 nested layers. Outside human beings, it is the largest multi-level alliance network ever found. And what is the network for? A team finds a fertile female, cuts her out of her group and keeps her. And if she runs, they run her down. If she keeps running, they hit her, and it can go on for weeks. It goes further than that. In the Moray Firth, in Scotland, post-mortems on stranded bottlenose calves found 5 out of 8 had been beaten to death by adult bottlenose dolphins, the first infanticide ever recorded in any cetacean. In the same water, harbour porpoises kept coming ashore carrying the same injuries: ribs broken in rows, lungs perforated, and nothing taken. 63% of those examined had the wounds. A harbour porpoise is roughly the size and shape of a dolphin calf. That is one explanation, and nobody enjoys it. Through all of it, the chase, the calf, the porpoise, the face does not change. It cannot. Look at the curve of that jaw again. We have spent a century reading it as permission. It is why this animal is on the sticker and in the tank. It is also why nobody notices the other number. Every year, more than 300,000 whales, dolphins, and porpoises die tangled in fishing gear, not hunted. Bycatch, the biggest killer of small cetaceans alive, and some of it is deliberate. In one Japanese town, boats still drive dolphins into a cove for 6 months of the year, under a quota of more than 1,800 animals. The ones with clean skin and no scars are not killed. They are sold alive into tanks because of the face. Everything real about this animal is somewhere else entirely. In the name it made up for itself, in the half a brain that has never once slept, in the sponge and the mud ring and the alliance and the porpoise. None of it is on the outside. It has worn the same face since long before we came down out of the trees. The smile is not a message. It is a bone. And we answered it anyway.